There's a lot of Spanish cities, especially Andalusian ones, that betray clear signs of their Moorish past, when North African Muslims ruled much of the Iberian Peninsula for hundreds of years. But nowhere is the mix of cultures clearer than here in Granada. If late-night clubbing is your thing, you're better off heading for the student zone, which is around Calle Pedro Antonio de Alarcón. This is a 15-minute walk south of the cathedral. You'll find loads of clubs and discos that stay open well into the small hours there. Personally, I think I'm going to stick to the quieter areas in the city centre because they don't play loud European house music, and because this is Granada, they give you free food with your drinks. So that's where I'm heading tonight. I'm here with Jonathan Lord at the Alhambra.
Well, the Alhambra is probably the greatest Muslim historical building in all of Europe. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's the most visited monument in Spain and one of the most in Europe. Its chief splendours are in the section of the palaces, the Nasrid palaces, but it's much more than these beautiful residences of the sultans of the Middle Ages. It's basically a complex of fortress, gardens, palaces, and in its day it was a city and complete in all ways with bathhouses, mosques, workshops, factories, everything that the city would have, including gates where duty-free wine would be sold to the populace of the city of Granada below.
What's the best way to get to the Alhambra and to get tickets for the Alhambra?
Well, the Alhambra sits on a hill above the city of Granada, so you can either take one of the small buses that run from city centre up the hill, or indeed walk up. It's a beautiful walk up, go through cool woods, which particularly welcome in the summer. My personal preference is to go, if you have the time, to see the Alhambra for a nighttime visit, which start from 8:30 until 11:30, because you see a much smaller part of the Alhambra, just the Nasrid palaces, and you see them up close, and with the interior lighting you can appreciate the fantastic tile work, the plaster, the decoration. It's a more intimate approach, and also made that way because there are far fewer crowds at that time of day. Well, the Nasrid palaces are three separate palaces which were built in various stages, starting from the end of the 13th century, and the last of them was built in the first half of the 15th century. They were inhabited by the sultans of the Nasrid dynasty and used as their residences for them and their court, for their wives. Their harem was there, but also as places of reception for diplomats, ambassadors. The highlight for me is where those receptions took place, which is the Hall of the Ambassadors, which is a perfect cube-shaped room. It sits in the Comares Tower, which from the outside looks just like another part of the battlements. The Alhambra is very imposing and forbidding from the outside. It was in its day the strongest fortress in the known world. Inside, however, it is, I think, the height of elegance and sophistication of all of the craftsmanship, of the use of wood, of plaster, of stucco, the elaborate inscriptions from the Quran, the use of geometry and the ceramic tiles that adorn the walls, and simply just to spend time and imagine the receptions of Christian princes coming into this chamber with the Sultan on his throne, the Christian prince coming in from the bright sunlight outside, the light reflected in the pool of water that is the outside of the Hall of Ambassadors, for me conjures up the image of what the Alhambra was about, of royal splendour, hanging on against the odds, against the tide of history.